On the counter diversity, equity, inclusions, what's your assessment now 3 months in and trying to undo a lot of those programs?
My assessment is the DOD will be merit-based and colorblind. You will be judged based on how good you are at your job. Full stop. That's it. And so getting rid of diversity, equity, inclusion, DEI, getting rid of different standards was fundamental to getting back to basics. And that's what when I get a chance to talk to commanders here, that's what I emphasize. We're getting back to basics. Standards at every level need to be adhered to, and that's at a baseline. And when you talk to soldiers, you talk to Marines, they get it. They get it. They've seen the standards slide under the previous administration. They watched, in many different ways how it eroded, or quotas were being met, or different aspects boxes had to be checked. Not anymore. The only box that gets checked in this Defense Department is lethality and your ability to do your job. They haven't talked about it as much in these hearings because this is a budget hearing about $1.5 trillion that's historic and significant. But underwriting the change that we've seen in our department was a laser focus on getting back to basics. And the key word to that is merit. We had a department that was obsessed with gender, ideology, and race, diversity, equity, and inclusion. In fact, the mantra you would hear dripping from the lips of generals and with a serious look on their face was, "Our diversity is our strength," which is the single dumbest phrase in military history. Of course, our diversity is not our strength. Our unity is our strength, our shared purpose, the flag we wear, and the Constitution we serve to defend. And when you clear that debris away, whether it's Marxist ideologies or social engineering or political correctness or quotas based on gender and diversity, you get the best of the best rising up, regardless of gender, regardless of race, motivated by that environment where merit reigns. It's accountability, standards, lethality, readiness, training, all the debris wiped away. That is the secret sauce of the revival of the War Department, and why Americans are attracted to serving in it, and why those inside it, why morale is sky high. And any insinuation that it is not are coming from folks who haven't been in our units recently. Go visit the troops at every level, and their morale is at record level.
Hello, Bobby Jones here from MeidasTouch and Valor Media Networks. The two clips you just saw reflects the current Department of Defense's policies via the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, on diversity, equity, and inclusion measures. The bottom line is, Pete Hegseth believes that if you are of some diverse background or a woman, that you made it to that position because you were solely selected on it. His argument was it did not promote the best of the best into positions of leadership within the Department of Defense. Now, I completely disagree with that, and I've talked about this ad nauseum. But what blows my mind is all the pontificating, all of the stories that he has told, and all the made up stats and this, that, and the other he's thrown out there. Come to find out, when you look at the leadership that he handpicked, he is actually doing the exact same thing that he accused administrations prior to doing, only this case, it's not minorities or women. It's basically white guys who have been promoted to positions that they are not qualified for, or they politically jockeyed to get. Let's just go down the list. Let's start with the current chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Kane. General Kane was a retired lieutenant general, a 3-star general in the United States Air Force. In order for him to become the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, by law, he had to get a waiver. He had to get a waiver because, one, he was not a high enough rank. He was not a 4-star. He did not have a combatant command, one of the largest command units that we have, or he was not the chief of staff of an actual armed service. In his case, it would be the Air Force. But because he allegedly said that he would kill for President Trump, here's the clip.
Immediately following the announcement of your nomination, press stories started to circulate about comments President Trump made about you and your past relationship. And according to the reports, the president tells a story where he spoke to you while you were serving in Iraq on active duty, and you said that you loved him, and "I'll kill for you, sir." The president then said that you followed up these comments by putting on a Make America Great Again hat. General Kane, is any of this story true?
Senator, as I mentioned to the chairman, for 34 years, I've upheld my oath of office and the responsibilities of my commission. I think I went back and listened to those tapes, and I think the president was actually talking about somebody else, and I've never worn any political merchandise or said anything to that effect.
Thank you. General Kane, during the consideration of your nomination, were you ever asked who you voted for in the last election or 2020 election?
Senator, I was not.
Are you aware of any presently serving service members or senior civilians in the DOD being asked questions like this?
I'm not, Senator.
Do you agree that it's the utmost importance to keep the military apolitical and questions like this should not be asked?
I agree with you. Yes, Senator.
Trump wanted him brought out of retirement, promoted to 4 stars, and to have a waiver to get the position. That is not merit-based. That is not qualification-based. That is President Trump saying, I want this guy because he said he'd kill for me. Now, General Kane has denied these allegations, but multiple people said this was why he was picked. This is why he stuck out with President Trump. His nickname, Raising, as in Raising Kane, really bored itself into the president's mind. Okay, now look at Hegseth and his choice to be the Chief of Naval Operations, Admiral Daryl Caudle. Now, let me be very clear. Admiral Caudle on paper is in fact qualified to be the Chief of Naval Operations. See, it's very simple. He was the head of U.S. Fleet Forces Command, 4-star admiral position, submariner with extensive background. However, that's only part of the story. Back in December of 2024, after the election, the then Chief of Naval Operations, Admiral Franchetti, she, being a she, knew she would be fired if Hegseth became the Secretary of Defense. So she sat down with other high-ranking naval officials to come up with a list of highly qualified candidates to be her replacement. And Caudle's name was nowhere on the list. But the reason Caudle got the job, according to the New York Times, is because he jockeyed for that position, helping Pete Hegseth prepare for his confirmation hearings and using Pete Hegseth's personal attorney to help put in a good word for him. That's not me saying this. This is well-sourced information from the New York Times. And so we have seen the removal of Admiral Franchetti, the forced resignation of Admiral Halsey, who was in charge of United States Southern Command, a black naval officer, the highest ranking one in the Navy, and a variety of other generals and admirals thrown to the wayside, to include General Donahue, a former Delta Force commander and the last man out of Afghanistan. We've seen all of this happen to the most qualified, to the most badass, to the most battle-tested leaders the United States military has, all because Hegseth and President Trump wanted to pick people who were ideologues, not about merit, not about accomplishment, but those who were going to be loyal. It is obvious that is what has happened. When you look at those people who are in acting positions, because they have yet to be confirmed by the United States Senate, that includes the Attorney General of the United States, the Secretary of the Navy, all of these people in acting positions, they have one thing in common: undying loyalty to the administration. And so you have to ask yourself, at what point does the loyalty sacrifice competency? If you look at what's happening right now in the Middle East with Iran, all of these people who are in position to make hard decisions were put there on purpose, basically because of their loyalty. How is that working out for the United States and its military in the Middle East right now? How's it working out? And what does it look like moving forward into the future? These are issues that go to the root of the problem, where loyalty was promoted over competency, where it's literally the argument that Hegseth made about DEI, that people were just promoted to be promoted. Okay, well, you've removed those people and you have meritoriously promoted people who may not be qualified to be in a position, and look how it's turning out.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.